on here. All right. Greg, what is up, dude?
It's me.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes. All right. Awesome, man.
It's
This is so
me.
cool. You look at you, man. You're looking great. I mean, it doesn't look like the pandemic treated you too bad, huh?
I feel good.
Well, look, first and foremost, let me tell you, thank you very much for taking your time today and, hopping on here. This is, such a sick opportunity. I've been a huge fan of your stuff for the longest, and I'm excited to dig into some of the stuff we have going on today, man.
I'm here. No one can hurt you anymore, Eric. It's me.
I love the shirt, too.
Can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah. I can dig that. Shit.
It's fun.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had so many questions about the Red Chord. I had to trim that down. But then I also, was thinking about, asking because I saw you mention some things with films, and I had to cut that out too. So maybe I'll just have you on another time and maybe talk some movies. You know what I'm saying? Dig into that a little
I
bit.
love this. I love it. I'm trying to set up something so you can see my beautiful face, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
I'm
good at technology. I'm stacking books. Literally to get this to look great. So you keep talking. I'll figure out my friggin' life.
Perfect. Well, if it needs to sit this way, as far as if it needs to sit like sideways like that, I can go back, in editing. That, I mean, it looks better right now, but I can go back and I can edit it for when I put it up on YouTube too. So whatever's more comfortable for you, man.
I've only known about this interview for a month now, so I'm prepared.
Yeah. I love it. All right, while you're setting up, let me dig into something as far as, my wife and I do some traveling, all right? So if we were coming through local to you, what's a local restaurant or a must-stop food staple that we would have to try before we headed on home? What would we have to try there?
First off, you're married. Congratulations.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. That. That's good. Let's see. Ooh, you know what I had last night? Little Bangkok is a Thai place down the street from me. It rules. It's very good.
All right.
What else do we got? In my town alone, we have about 5 different House of Pizzas. So if you love pizza of any sort of level of grease, we've got it covered. Subs, that kind of thing. What kind of food do you like? What do you enjoy?
I mean, all of those things sound delicious. We can go through any of that stuff. Especially, I mean, mentioning that Thai food, or every once in a while you find like a good like Chinese place. You can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. These crab rangoons are out of control.
Beautiful. I love that. All right, so digging into today's interview, we're going to be kind of going all the way back and digging into different bands, different aspects of tracks, whatnot. But starting out as far as growing up in a musical home, with different genres such as jazz and classical being played, what were earlier songs or pieces that you remember really resonating with you?
We had to listen to classical music while we ate dinner, so it was a lot of Beethoven and Chopin. But I think some of the pieces that resonated with me is my dad was a huge Danny Gatton fan, who is this this incredible guitar player at such a young age. Unfortunately, I believe he took his own life later on in life, but he was just this monster guitar player. And I remember listening to those tracks, and just he did things with the guitar that other people weren't at the time. And yeah, I think Danny Gatton, we listened to a lot of Stevie Ray in the house too, another guy that just made the guitar do things that I'd never heard done before. So those kind of the guitar-driven tracks, I think, always grab me.
Okay. Now, initially, like further on down the road, as far as, picking up guitar and playing yourself, did you kind of recant back to some of that stuff as far as looking into, how the hell did they play that? Or, was that more, where you were kind of into rock and roll or metal and you're like, I just want to learn this shit?
No. Well, it's funny. I think I got into a lot of that metal stuff. Well, my friends and I would listen to it, but it was also the one thing in the house that wasn't played.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So it was like the one thing that could be mine. But yeah, definitely. I attempted to learn all that stuff and failed miserably because those guys are so good. But 100%. I think for anyone playing, you have to take in a lot of different forms to kind of create your own thing. And I mean, every musician's done that. You can hear Hendrix and Stevie's playing. Like you can hear tons of people and everybody's playing. So I think the more you listen to, the more you can find out what you want and what you don't want to do.
Totally. Nice. I like that. And anybody, as far as even starting out a job, you can pick up different people's traits and what you like and what you don't like and kind of mold your own thing too. So I think that's a good tip for anybody that's trying to pick up the craft and, not just wanting to be Kerry King all the way through, but maybe taking a little bit and, tossing in something even with jazz and different genres too.
Oh,
I like
definitely.
that.
Definitely.
I like that. Take us back to, buying your first album.
Your Converge CD record just fell over.
It did.
Oh my God! How could you treat that record like that?
It attacked me. Jesus H, I got to set that back up. Oh,
what a record!
I know. Oh my God, I agree.
It's the best. It's the best. Like I know everyone goes nuts about Jane Doe, and I love that record. I just think those guys, every record get better. That record in particular is unreal.
You
just
ain't
so
lying.
good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, totally. Well, so as far as your first, if it was an album or a cassette tape or a CD, what was the first thing that you remember buying? Whether it was, something from a paycheck or maybe an allowance, you had to go out and make that sacrifice. What did you go and get?
I remember I mowed lawns for a long time, and maybe one of the first records I bought was either I got on my bike and rode down to I think it was called Music Smith at the mall, and I either bought Facelift or maybe it was Sap. It was on cassette, and then I think the first CD I bought maybe was The Real Thing by Faith No More.
Yeah. Nice.
That's a long time ago. Speaking of CDs, I remember with this ongoing Nirvana lawsuit, it makes me laugh because my sister for one Christmas bought me Nevermind, but CDs used to come in these like giant. I'm old, so they used to come in these giant cardboard boxes, and the bottom was the CD. Mm-hmm. So you basically got the album cover, but it was stretched out. Mm-hmm. And she said she was so embarrassed buying it because there was a naked baby on it. And so when I unwrapped it for Christmas, she put a little piece of tape over his wang and wrote "censored" on it, and I thought it was the funniest thing. And now he's suing the band. That's great. Good for that guy.
Isn't that something? I mean,
got to make money somehow, right?
Yeah, and not even like fully digging into that, but it's so hilarious. Like even through a span of his life that he's recreated that picture too. It's like. It's not going to go too far, my man.
I don't think it will. It's ridiculous.
Now, was that the local music shop as far as for you was the spot in the mall, or did you have like little mom pop shops that you went to for something a little bit more obscure? Yeah,
when I finally got a job, and when I was around 16, I got a license. I would take my paycheck every Friday and drive to a gas station, fill up my tank for the week, and then go to a place called Sound Chasers, which had a bunch of bootleg stuff and a bunch of used CDs. And it was funny because at the time, used CDs were looked down upon on the industry because they only got one purchase out of it, whereas someone could sell it back and then they don't, and I remember Garth Brooks came out and was like, used CDs kind of hurt sales. And they had a big cardboard cutout of Garth Brooks kind of saying that with a word bubble. And I always thought that was hilarious. But yeah, every week I just go in and buy music.
Okay. That was the one thing. I mean, you mentioned that it's kind of funny with like local shops too, especially, having just ridiculous shit like that, or even the opportunity of walking in and seeing like local show flyers or, like bands posting up their demos even, you could have a 2 or 3 song, CD that's just, pinned up there you could bring home and shit. So yeah, I always love, being able to find those spots too. And I mean, luckily nowadays it's starting to make, more of a resurgence. So you can find, that a little bit more, but for a long time that was hard to come by, man.
Yeah, it really was how scenes were created, is that you'd go to music stores and see who was playing, what new bands were out, who was in what band, and everyone in that local area knew everybody. And then, hopefully one of those bands would make it to the next level. And you could say, I remember then when, you could have their cassette demo and stuff. And it was cool. That stuff was cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I like that. Now, touching on that too. If you're scanning through the aisles and you're looking at something, bring us back to a time of making a purchase just based off the cover art. You're looking at something that catches your eye, and was it a good purchase? Did the art do it justice, or did the album suck?
I remember there was a local band, and the artwork was, I think it was a scary monster on the front of it. This is back when death metal was kind of happening. I had never really heard about it, and then all these bands started coming out of Florida and coming out of everywhere. And I remember buying a local band called Motor Psycho or something like that. And it was a 2-song cassette, and they had like a scary monster on the cover, and I brought it home, and I think I forced myself to like it because I just bought it. I paid money for it. But back in the day, it was any cover that either had to be censored. It completely backfired. All those Cannibal Corpse records, we bought them because we wanted to see what the cover was going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure.
any of the Deicide records, they looked so evil.
Yeah. No,
And,
I love that too. You mentioned that too. That was kind of like the allure sometimes, where it was like, it's supposed to kind of keep you off and push you away, and it's like, bullshit. I don't even know what this is, and that's what I'm getting. Shit.
Yeah, I want to see these corpses eating each other out. Let's do this. Come on.
And it brings that difference between streaming and going into a shop and only having $10, and it's like, man, I hope this does not suck, because this is all the money I have for the next couple of weeks, and it's like it's going to this one thing. So
it's true. It really forced yourself to listen to a record over and over again to try to find something that you like about it or love about it or connect with, because you just spent your paycheck on this record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Do you remember a band called Deadsy? They were kind of like a metal, like keyboards type of thing. It was earlier 2000s.
I think so. Yeah.
They did. They had one track, and it just brings it to mind as far as that. I loved this song, and I wanted to buy it, and I bought it. And I remember that album in particular. I was like, "Fuck, man, I messed up." Like, damn it! I went and it just went right off of it. And they did a cover of Tom Sawyer, which I guess was kind of cool, but it was like, that $15 that I spent on it, I was like, man, there was so many other things I could have gotten that I would have probably been happier with.
Yeah, it's tough. You take chances,
Yeah, for sure. Now, with your interest in music, listening and kind of, seeing bands and different things like that, where does it spawn as far as you starting to play, and what was your first instrument that you had gotten?
The first instrument, my parents, I think, pushed me, or I was like, I really want to play music, and I think they said, well, you can choose from a couple different instruments, and they, to themselves, I think, thought, what is going to be the least irritating instrument to hear someone attempt to play as a young person? So in 4th grade, I picked up the saxophone, and jokes on them, it was irritating to listen to. Like,
That's
it
loud.
sucks. It sucks hearing somebody who can't play that thing. Yeah. So, but from there, I remember I wanted to play drums desperately after that, because I learned, my dad really wanted me to learn music, like how to read it and everything. So I took saxophone, and then I wanted a drum set, and they're like, that's going to be too loud. So they got me a guitar, which was great because we listened to a lot of guitar-based music in the house. And again, jokes on them, I went out and got a distortion pedal and just like cranked that thing. And then eventually got a drum set anyways. So,
Okay.
Poor parents.
All right. What? Right. Trying to just figure out anything that they can, like, can you get this damn kid a triangle or what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What was your first band, as far as kind of digging into some earlier, earlier things here? Your first time either joining or starting a band?
I think the first show I ever played, I want to say it was just a group of friends and myself. We had one song. I think it was original. I don't even think we had a name. And one of my buddies belonged to a church, so we played this church event, and I had just gotten a slide. This must have been a junior high. And I was so excited because I wrote this really bad 3-note slide thing, and my slide was on a stool, and I was playing the 2 chords that I knew sucked. And then I turned around to get the slide for my big, huge slide solo, and I knocked the stool on it, and it fell to the ground and smashed. And I was like, okay, this is, and that kind of set up my career, I think, from that point on.
Oh,
And then,
no.
but I did it. I played those 3 notes without a slide, and I think it sounded equally as poor. So I think it worked out great. And and then the next year, I played a show where I was going to do. I was also junior high, and Guns N' Roses' cover of "Live and Let Die" just came out, and I said to my bandmates, "Let's do that," and they went, "We can do it." And then I think 2 weeks before the show, the bass player said, "He can't do it. He's not going to do the show." Okay, that's great. It was just a talent show. And then the singer was like, "Yeah, well, then I'm not going to do it." And then each week getting closer, everyone dropped out but me. And so I showed up and did an instrumental version of one of the most boring songs just on guitar. And it was about 5 minutes of me just standing up there. And I didn't have a distortion pedal at that point, so I had a PV Rage amp, which if you bent down and pressed a button, it went to distortion mode. So I'd play my thing, and when the heavy part came up, I would actually pause, lean over, press the button, and then play. I did kill it, though. I killed it.
I love that. That's awesome. I mean,
It's all about opposition.
Yeah, some of the earlier failures too, that kind of prepares you for like, well, I just have to prepare for the worst, and God, if I get a good show out of it, then shit, we had a good night.
Yeah, I mean, it set me up for future failures, without a doubt. Yeah, I knew how to handle it.
I mean, and I hear that from everybody, from different bands too, that if anybody, you're the one who's always down no matter what. You could do a show tomorrow that just got announced from a band that doesn't fucking exist. Is that one of your earlier memories of, kind of having that ambition to just go out and get it done?
Yeah, I have always been. I'll say this: I may not be the most talented person in the band, but I am. I will play any show at any point. And yeah, so even when I was in high school, I was in 3 different bands and 2 of those bands were from different towns, like outside of my town. So I drive to other towns just to join bands. I've always been somebody who just wants to play all the time. Like if you were just like, "Hey, dude, you want to play a show tomorrow?" I'd be like, "Yes, I would."
Wow. Damn. And now, is it ever? Yeah, like earlier on, was it ever anything as far as having some nerves before going up, or has it always been like a thing of like pushing, like, nope, I'm ready, let's get it done?
Yeah, just me. I mean, I'm selfish. I'm doing it for myself, really, because I mean, as you well know, there's an incredible feeling of being able to connect with people, and I don't know, there's something about that. So I've always been somebody who wants to just chase that and find it. I don't care if there's one person there or 10. I'm still gonna have that feeling of connecting with people through this. So yeah, I've always been somebody who just wants to play. Just always want to play.
Nice. Okay. All right. What about in this, recording, as far as maybe a first time of just being in a buddy's garage, and then kind of, drifting into your first time in a studio, actually a legit recording session. Take us back to those times.
Okay. Yeah. We, I want to say in high school, I got a Tascam 424 4-track cassette recorder. So we would do the band I was in at the time, we would do the thing where you would throw the mic over a pipe in somebody's basement so it hangs in the middle of the room. Yeah. And then you can record drums on that track and set up a mic in front of an amp, and that's track 2, and then a vocal mic, and then a bass mic. And they all sounded like shit. But that was kind of, you could get the idea down, kind of. Yeah. And then you could, mix it at home. Sometimes you can even bounce all 3 tracks down to 1. Oh, what a mess. It was awesome. So I think, so I would always do drums and bass all bounce down, and then 2 guitars left and right, and vocals up the middle. And then one of the guitars would cut out if you needed to do backup vocals. So they would just disappear for a second. And it sounded great, It's just you had 158, and you would just go to town, use that for everything. And then at some point in high school, one of the bands I was in, we collected enough money to go to this guy's studio, which was in his basement, and he didn't really know what he was doing, and we didn't know what we were doing, but we could actually hear what we were playing. And I remember it was the first time I was listening back going, wait, that's what you're playing? Because we're usually in a room or at a talent show, and you can't hear what the other person's doing. You're just making noise, and you're trying to look at each other's hands or learn riffs correctly, and no one knows what they're doing. And then to listen back and go, wow, okay, next time we go into the studio, we're all going to need to know what everybody's playing because this sounds like a pile of shit.
Just one big collective.
Just a collective pile of shit. The good news about that, the good thing is, I think you got me ready for bands like the Red Chord where there's a ton of dissonant stuff in it. So you would, before you go into the studio, you would, you'd listen to something and go, okay, we're playing that too clean. Let's make it sound like a pile of shit. And so it worked out, I think, in our favor.
Yeah, it's interesting, when you have certain times or even albums that you listen to where, it's a band that, notoriously is just like kind of, for instance, I guess over time, Pig Destroyer, for instance, listen to that band. And then if they had an album come out that was completely polished, I feel like it would kind of take away a little bit to the band, like, what is this?
Yeah.
Is this a different band?
It'd be weird.
Yeah, at first, it kind of took me off guard a little bit with some of the earlier stuff, sounding like, straight from the 4-track, tape cassettes, but it's like, now it's like, okay, it's, it's an aesthetic, it's a thing that kind of just goes along with the band, it's a understanding, I guess. So, but
well, it's true.
Yeah,
like, half those black metal bands, they sound like they record in the forest on a 4-track or in a toilet or in a trash can. And, but it grows on you and you go, wait, this is what it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great. There's that, what was that? There was a band, what was they called? They were called Nitro, I think. I could be wrong, but it was that hair metal band with the guy who played the 4-neck guitar. I could be way off on all of this. But they have an album that it sounds like they recorded it in an airport hangar. It's ridiculous sounding, but it works, I guess.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know if I know what that is. Is it like a 90s band or 80s band or is it
80s band? Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Wow. I'm gonna have to look that up. It just made me think of as far as like quality, because you kind of mentioned something that might sound too polished and you have to kind of go back and be like, well, we gotta rough this up a little bit or do like a different take. I mean that's kind of interesting. Not thinking of those types of things, where it's like, going through and, having to do another take just to kind of give it, that little extra character or something like that.
Yeah. It's just always good to know what everybody is playing before you go into the studio.
Next, I want to touch on, so for a while there, you were doing some pretty wicked interviews. You were doing some stuff with Metal Injection, with Metal Blade as well, and doing some absolutely hilarious shit. I had so much fun, rewatching some of this stuff because I remember when it initially, was on and airing and different things. First of all, I wanted to ask about, with all the subgenres of metal out there, what have been some of the more interesting or funny ways that you've heard the Red Chord explained or categorized?
I think early on there was a lot of math metal, and then that came out. And I guess that just means anything that's not in 4 or something. I'm not, I always considered ourselves just a rock band because we had guitar, bass, drums, and a vocalist. But I remember saying that in an interview, and the person interviewing me got upset. And they're like, "No, you're not." I'm like, okay, you can. Then what am I? I don't care. Whatever. It is funny. We've been described as a bunch of different things, and to me, it's I guess as long as someone's describing you, it's okay. Call us whatever you want.
Good point. I like that. Yeah, and I think this was from this was inspired from one of your interviews. You were going around a show and you were kind of asking different people about metal and like kind of breaking down the different subgenres of shit. And it was so funny because saying some of those things, people are very serious about it, but it's like just listen to yourself for a second. It sounds some of this stuff sounds pretty silly. Just call it fucking metal.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess, metal core or whatever, you may have. But through those interviews and through some of those times, were there ever, did you ever have some people, and you kind of mentioned on this a second ago, but, did you ever have some situations that got pretty hairy out of, maybe just your fun and wit with the situation that people weren't taking very, very, very funny?
Well, the thing is, there's a difference. Well, first off, I'll go back and just say that when we kind of, especially for clients, there were certain outlets that really got us and who we were as people, which, I mean, me alone is enough, but to have 4 or 5 of me is just a nightmare. So, and Metal Injection, I don't know if it's because they're also from the East Coast. I don't know what it was, but we really connected with those guys, and those guys are incredible. And they always, we would show up to wherever it is. They came up to video shoots. We'd show up to a festival, and they were there, and it was just not a ton of planning. It was basically like, what do we want to do? Like, what do we want to do to hang out? And,
Wow.
what do we want to do to have fun? And it was just, I mean, they still have that super fun attitude, and they kind of let us run wild with it, which was good. I mean, not all the time good because we're completely obnoxious people, but but those guys and Decibel Magazine out of Philly were another group of guys that were people that were just kind of ready to hang and have a lot of fun, and they understood us as humans, which not a lot of people do. But no, there's never a situation. If you have a microphone in your hand and a camera, people are usually disarmed enough where they won't get upset. But the Metal Injection was good at capturing what we did on a daily basis on the road when cameras weren't around. So,
Yeah.
there's always situations where you say something and people might take it the wrong way, but if there's a camera on and a microphone, usually they're pretty chill about stuff. And metal people in general are actually pretty sweet people, very nice people. So if you ask them a question, half the interviews were people trying to explain to me their thoughts and trying to help me through whatever I was going through. Like there was one, we went to Maryland Death Fest. We were playing, and I just walked around pretending that I was somebody. I think I'd just gotten a haircut or something. And the big joke was that I didn't look like I belonged in a band. And so we walked around just talking to people, and they were the sweetest people trying to help me through what metal was, and like you were saying, what genre was what, and who was, I think at one point I was having them help me read shirts, which was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
But it was great. I'm sure later on, if they watched us, they were probably saying, "Oh, that guy's a real asshole," because he was just walking around asking me questions about metal, and now he's up there, being booed by the audience.
Yeah, and somebody mentions that, I think they say the Red Chord, but somebody even mentions the band too. So I thought that was kind of funny. It's like being out there and asking, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I want to see this band." It's like, "Oh fuck, I'll be there. I'll be there too."
Yeah, I'll check them out. What I used to do, we would do sometimes early on before anybody really knew us, I guess. What I used to do is I would wait in line for the shows, and I would shit talk my own band just to see the reaction to people. I'd like wait in line. We were lucky enough to do this festival called Sounds of the Underground when I think it was right before Clients came out, or around the time it came out. So I'd wait in line, and I would just ask people. I'd be like, "Man, I can't wait to see," and Guar was on that tour. I'd be like, "I can't wait to see Guar. I can't wait to see," and be like, "Yeah." I was like, "Is there anyone else you want to see today?" And if anyone mentioned us, I'd be like, "That band sucks." And and sometimes people would defend it, and sometimes people would agree. And it was just a ton of fun. Then I would just get out of line right when we got to the box office or wherever, and just go backstage and just confuse people.
Oh God, that rules. That's the thing that I appreciate out of watching those. Was, well, I mean, first of all, going back and recircling back, were those on like Headbangers Ball or MTV2? What did those air on? Because I saw some of those, and it wasn't YouTube. I don't think. I mean, I don't think that was a thing at the time, right? This is earlier 2000s.
Yeah, we did do a couple for Headbangers Ball. I think we did. Again, my brain doesn't work anymore, so
It was a while back.
I can make anything up at this point. It was like, yeah, we hosted Headbangers Ball. It was sick. I remember we did do an interview in the men's room for Headbangers Ball at one point, and we were harassing people coming into the bathroom. But I think that was supposed to be a serious interview, so I don't know how much of that they actually aired.
Oh man, they're like these assholes. I can't ask them to do anything. They just go
Yeah,
completely against the wave there. Oh
it's good.
God.
I mean, I will say we're serious about our music without a doubt, but everything else is like, come on. You packed
Yeah.
5 idiots in a van and had them drive around for 10 years around the country. They're gonna get a different breed of animal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. And digging into so you're mentioning clients here too. Take us back as far as for before actually being in the band. What were songs or what were memories early on? Before and then being able to join the band. What are some of the earlier memories that come up as far as the Red Chord pre joining?
Oh man, I got a lot of them. I was asked to be in a band called Beyond the Sixth Seal. I worked in a record store with the
Mm-hmm.
drummer and bass player who left at that time. And I said, "Yeah, I'll join it." They said it's only going to be 3 shows, and then we're going to end the band. And it was like, okay, I could do that. And they said, "You'll be on bass." I was like, "I don't own a bass. I don't play bass." And it's like, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it." Okay, cool. So I showed up to practice, and I didn't know. I knew 2 of the dudes were from the Red Chord. One of them was a friend of mine. But I remember going to the practice space for the first time, and this guy walks in with long hair, and I think he probably had sandals on, with this shitty PA kind of set it up, and we started playing the song, and he just started growling. And to me, because I heard the record, I had to learn it. I was like, I wonder what effects they used on his voice. And I realized that it was none. It was just Mike. This is how he sounds.
Yeah.
Like, he sounds like a fucking animal. This kid is out of control. And I was like, whoa, this is nuts. And so then we did the 3 shows, which turned into a 2-week US tour, which turned into a Euro tour with the Red Chord. And I remember the drummer of Six Seal, Brendan, he and I were obviously on that European tour, and we would always say, because they weren't getting along, Red Chord wasn't getting along, and at the end of that tour, the drummer and bass player quit. So we would often say to each other, "Man, I'm glad I'm not in that band," because they're constantly fighting. It's like we'll stick with our band. This is great because we just had fun. And then we get back from that tour. I remember Guy said, "This is going to be Adam's last tour. What do you think about joining the band?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not really a bass player, and that stuff seems difficult. So, I'll pass." And I think it was only because I was the closest bass player in the room, or someone who could play bass. And so we flew home, and then he called me again. He's like, "Yeah, you've got a good attitude. What do you think about playing bass?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know, man. That stuff seems difficult. I'm an easygoing guy, man,
Yeah.
And then I got the CD, I listened to it, and the third time he called, I was like, "Yeah, I'll see how it goes." And then the rest, as they say, is history.
There it is.
So
All right.
I knew about him.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I knew about him, and when I joined Six Seal and I met Mike, I started going to see them. They played this awesome show with Deadwater Drowning, Between the Buried and Me, and then we traveled to the first time. I think that was the first time I saw him was at CB's with A Life Once Lost, and they were great. I mean, that first record's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's so good. And then I was just in it.
Sure. Yeah. So where does it go as far as when you're learning some of that stuff? Did you have certain aspects where you had to kind of really work at getting the shit down because it was a little bit out of the element of what you're normally playing or what you're kind of used to as far as with the fused together material?
Oh yeah, definitely. Adam, their old bass player, was nice enough to sit down with me and kind of say, "This is what I'm doing." And I remember tabbing it all out and then spending just days in my room trying to learn everything and get it down. And because I wasn't really a bass player, I was a guitar player, but no one needs guitar players because they're a dime a dozen. So. And I just wanted to go on the road. So that was another reason why I said, yeah, these guys, they tour. They actually do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Adam was nice enough to do that. And then when we started writing for clients, I remember we had this was pre-Brad, we had a drummer named John, who was in Deadwater Drowning, and he was staying at the bass player of Deadwater Drowning's house. So we would drive to New Hampshire and practice in this little shack a couple times. I think at that point they had most of Ant-Man down, and I remember learning that in that shack. And then we got a space on the South Shore where I'm from, which was great because it was the only time in the band where it would take me 10 minutes to drive to practice, and it took everyone else an hour. And that changed quickly. That changed real quickly.
Nope.
Yeah, not gonna happen. So we did.
Shit.
I think we did a couple tours before going into the studio for clients too. So we got to work some of those songs out on the road, which was very helpful for me, especially because honestly, trying to write bass lines to anything that Mike or Kevin did to me was pretty difficult because those guys, they write. I mean, Gunface writes like a maniac. His stuff is so unique that half the time he'd show me a riff and I was like, oh yeah, dude, I'm going to do this other thing to be unique and different, but it was really because I couldn't play it, you know?
Yeah.
Why don't I do this instead? It'll sound cool.
I mean, winging it, sometimes is more than half of the battle. It's like if you have a little confidence, you're like, you know what, that is sick, but I have something that's going to complement great, and
Exactly. I've been winging it for years.
Nice. What ended up being, the highlight moment or the highlight track as far as clients for you personally? What was your favorite off that album?
I love the song Clients because the whole idea of the record is that there are stories that Guy put together about people that he met through his work and his job and how they all have, some of them had mental health issues, physical issues and everything, and how these are all people that wear everything that is, could be seen as wrong on their sleeve, like, right away. But in reality, we all have that. And so that's the chant of "We are all clients" kind of resonates definitely to me. So yeah, that song is really good. Plus, it's super fun to play. We used to when we visit the West Coast, we'd go to Voodoo Donuts and buy these gigantic, huge donuts. And the next show, we would tell audience members, if you can eat this donut by the end of the next song, you get a free T-shirt. And so we'd bring a kid up from the audience, and we'd play Clients, which is 58 seconds long. And these poor bastards would be halfway through this huge donut, and they would just have a stomach ache and, would mock them. The crowd, it is crazy how quickly a crowd will turn on someone that they're cheering for if they don't do the thing that they're supposed to. Because I remember this one time, this big kid got up there and he's halfway through the song end, and the crowd's like, yeah, get it, yeah, they're pumped. The song ends, he's halfway done, and they start booing him. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. This
what
poor bastard.
A bummer. Yeah,
he got
man.
Yeah, at least he got a donut out of it.
But that probably an ass whooping as soon as he got back into the pit. Jesus.
Holy shit. I gotta tell you, they did not like that. And then he was dead when I got there is another one, because I think I love that song. Just the way Mike's solos are over it are just awesome. It's awesome. It's like a Crowbar tune that Mike got to play on, almost,
Yeah, I can see that. Nice. That so next up, I wanted to dig into "Pray for Eyes," and first initially, I wanted to ask as far as with working titles such as "Send the Death Star." Is there anything that comes to mind as far as funny or interesting working titles that you can remember for the album?
Yeah, we have working titles. Obviously, probably up until we have to make real titles. So on that one in particular, I remember we had them all on a whiteboard. Well, we always have them on a whiteboard, but those ones stuck out in particular because they were all ridiculous. I remember I try to base all my ideas off of something that I'm into at that point. And I remember we were all deep into Trailer Park Boys at the time. And so all of my songs had, I think it was like Shit Bird, Shit Tornado. It was all Leahy sayings. So we had that in Mike will usually he'll like mash two bands together that the riffs might be like, or he'll just have ridiculous words put together. I don't know, like battery appetite. I don't know if that's one, but it would be something that he would, right? I know he had something about a clown parade or something. But the problem is that when you get a set list for the next show, you actually write. You don't know what the real songs are called. And,
oh shit!
And so your set list is then half what it is on the record, and then half the songs on a new record that you just write the title track. So if anyone's or the working track. So if anyone's looking at them as an audience member trying to find their favorite song, it's gonna be called, Brad's Friend Ernie. That was a working song, working title, and they'll be confused.
Okay. Or maybe they think it's like a special edition. You're like, oh shit, they played this song. They didn't even put it on the album. I saw them when they played all this stuff. They didn't even end up putting it on. We got to see that stuff for the one night only.
Yeah, I got a set list, and it has none of the tracks that they've ever written. It was great. It's a great show.
Nice. I love that. I love it. And I have to ask really quick too, as far as Midas Touch. This wasn't something that I sent you before, but as far as what is the correlation or the relationship to the it's not a cover song, is it?
No,
because it credits like the original, or God, what is it, Palace? There's like a credit online to that band, like written by.
What?
Yeah. So there's I think it's a late 80s band, Pallas, that have a song called Midas Touch. That none of the lyrics are resonant to like your guys' track or nothing. And I've always I'll have to go back and see if it's online, or I don't think it was Wikipedia or anything, but I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with that song?
That's interesting. No, I think Midas Touch might have been here. The other problem is that we talked about this a little bit. I don't necessarily listen to stuff that I've been on a lot, so I don't remember how that song goes. Hum it to me, and I can tell you everything about it.
I mean, let's see here. That I'm gonna have to think of the song too.
And this was what makes a good interview. Is like two guys trying to hum songs to each other.
And there's like one note that's in.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, Midas Touch.
I feel like it starts with the. I'll edit in a little clip of it right here, and then kind of, change it a little bit so that I don't get sued.
How about this? Okay, you put it in here. Oh yeah, that song we did. Okay. Yeah, we stole that from Palace.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Boy, oh boy. It's been an album that for the longest time, and now I'm like trying to think of, there's certain points in the album that I can go over on my drum set and I'd be able to blast it off. And now I'm like thinking, fuck, how does that song start? Jesus.
I don't know how. I haven't heard that record in a while, so I also
you should
have
listen
no
to
idea.
it. It's really good.
Well, it's funny. Sometimes people are surprised when they're like, "Have you don't listen to your own stuff?" And I'm like, "Not really. I mean, if we're getting ready to play a show, it's just that." And this, it's you record you write the record, you record the record, you listen to about 3 different mixes about it, for it. Then you listen to the master, and then you never want to hear those songs ever again. And then you play them all out, and the whole time you're probably thinking, "Oh, we could do better than this." I think it's the reason. It's the reason we keep making records.
Yeah. No,
but maybe I will go back.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. Okay. You might hear it if you watch, a little bit of this. You might hear the jingle there.
It's a snippet.
Or maybe I'll make a MIDI file. Who knows?
Yeah. And then we'll sue you.
So as far as the cover art, so you have Paul Romano. You got a piece on the cover, that kind of plays along with some of the themes within the album. There. What can you tell us about that bad boy?
Yeah. Well, first off, Paul is such an incredible artist. He did clients for us and Pray for Eyes, and he really gets involved. He wants lyrical content. He wants, demos and stuff. So Paul is the one guy besides us that got to hear all the demos before any of the records came out, because he really wants to immerse himself in what he does. And Guy has such a clear idea of what he also wants the album kind of to be about, that the two of them would kind of mesh ideas. And the idea for Pray for Eyes is that anything on that record isn't exactly what it seems lyrically. So Guy would always have, you'd hear a song and he'd put things in it that have double or sometimes triple meanings. And so what Paul did with that idea is that he put, optical illusions all over the record, like everywhere. So you can look at it in a certain way and it looks different than what it looks like face on. So I always thought that was wild. And he also did this, and Guy's probably going to kill me because he has the same phone number, but I'm not going to say where, somewhere in the layout, Guy's phone number is there. If you look at something a certain way.
No.
And it was funny because Guy used to get phone calls. He never changed his number, so we'd be on the road and he'd just pick up, he'd be like, yep, this is cool. Okay. And hang up, be like, oh, fucking cool. Another Paul phone call, another call from some kid that found where the number was.
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, how did kids find out that just from, like, spreading word that, like, hey, I called this number and it's actually the singer of the band?
I think because a lot of the calls are pretty timid, so I think people would just call. They found the phone number and would just call and see, what it was all about. And then I think, word got out that it was actually his phone number.
Weird. I mean, knowing him, they're probably like, please don't shit on me. I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah. They were quick phone calls. I'll say that.
Me, please.
Yeah. They were very quick.
Now, as far as the different tracks that I love within the album, Bone Needle, I think, has to be, my favorite, of the album. What can you tell us about that track, and as far as, the writing and recording of that song? This is a while back, but as a fan, I just, wanted to take this moment.
We recorded that record in Jersey, and I think it was the most amount of time we got to use in the studio. I think it was a couple weeks, which would never had before or after in the studio. And we were watching a ton of, at the time, well, I'm pretty sure that's a Mike song. I mean, it's definitely a Mike song. I'm trying to think if Johnny Faye helped with any of the turnarounds, but I remember him coming to practice, and that main riff was something that kind of grabbed all of us. I mean, it's so good. He's such a good writer. And again, it was one of those riffs halfway through the song where I was just like, oh, what am I going to do? But yeah. But I learned it. Don't worry, guys. I learned it.
That was me on the recording. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's definitely me on the recording. It took a while. Just kidding. But yeah, and the breakdown of that song is one of my favorites from Mike too. It's great, but I do remember that was one of the ones that stuck out at practice, and it was super fun to play. It's really fun to play live. I think before the record came out, we would play that one live. There's always a couple songs you want to play live because you want to play the new record, but if it's not out, you don't want to play too many to bore everybody. But then when you played a new song back then, you could see who knew it, and you could ask them where they heard it and see who leaked it, which was always fun too. He could trace it back. Like, okay. How did you know all the words to that song, buddy? No reason. But yeah, I remember being in the studio. I forget the working title to that song, but we were in the studio and we were watching Mythbusters, and they were doing a thing on finding a needle in a haystack. And they were talking about different types of needles that could be used. Like if it's a metal needle, you can use a magnet to find it, or burn the haystack, whatever the hell they were doing. But one of the needles they were talking about was a bone needle. And I think I said something to Guy, or he was trying to find out, or he was talking about naming the song or what to name it, and one of us just said, why don't you just name it Bone Needle?
Nice.
Yeah, so
nice.
Nothing.
That rolls. I mean, it's a funny story too, with it being something from like Mythbusters. You hear that, it's like, man, this is fucking tough. This came out of like a straight up metal book, or something on murder or killers or something. And it's like, no, it's Mythbusters.
That's
I appreciate
Mythbusters, yeah. Yeah.
that.
And again, it's one of those things where the record it's not really what it seems half the time,
Yeah, I
you
love
know?
that. That's so sick. What ended up being a favorite track of yours off of the album?
I love,
Let's see. So I unplugged my headphones. That still sounds like ass.
how about that?
Holy moly, what happened? I think I fixed it. Ha ha ha. All right. Boy, oh boy. I tell you what, technology, faulty equipment, we're going to make it through. We will make it through. I love it.
Cool. I like it.
I've had certain, it's honestly, out of doing like 140 of these things now, there's been 4. And, when something of a nightmarish type situation happens, it happens. It goes there all the way. It's not just a small little bug or, maybe a dot covering my face or anything like that. All right, dear Lord. Now that we're past that, can you still hear me all right?
Yeah, dude, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
yeah, we got it. We made it through. Thank the Lord there. All right, fed through the teeth machine. All right, tell us about some initial riffs for that bad boy. Certainly, absolutely love that album. What was some of the earlier stuff that you remember kind of making the foundation of writing this album here?
That I thought, I could be totally wrong, but I thought Bone Needle was early. Midas Touch was actually, I think we called that song 3 because that was the third song. We're very creative. That was the third song that was written for that record. And I knew we wanted to go in and just be kind of uglier and more extreme than Clients. We wanted to see, how extreme on certain points we can be, but we also wanted to do more of like more song kind of structure. So there are some songs on like Pray for Eyes, which has that ending. The last song, Seminar, has that kind of like long ending. I think we wanted to kind of put a lot more into each song. And for good or bad, that's what we did.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, and such a sick album too. And with the album after, coming some years later, you guys had Fed Through the Teeth Machine. What can you tell us about, earlier memories of, that album coming about and earlier riffs?
I think that was, at that point, I think it was just Mike and I on that record, guitar and bass wise. Johnny Fay had left the band, and we had Mike Keller touring with us for Pray for Eyes, and then he was gone by the time we started writing Teeth Machine. So Mike at one point was just like, I'm just going to be the only guitar player. Let's, we've had probably between drummers and guitar players 7 or 8 ex-members at this point. And we're just like, let's just keep it like this. I don't need another guitar player. And I remember that record, Mike said, he treated it like a full-time job. He was doing 40 hours a week just writing. And he and I would get together and trade ideas, trade riffs. And I knew we wanted to make kind of a non-stop record. With Pray for Eyes, we fleshed out a bunch of ideas, kind of put a lot of stuff in there. And I think we wanted to be more direct with Teeth Machine, and wanted it to be kind of like a start to finish ripper.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely being so too. And
is that noise back?
I don't hear it on my end. No. Is it back?
Okay. No, I think it's just the wind going between my ears.
I can only imagine you're sitting here trying to concentrate on, your answer or whatever I'm asking, and it's just this constant fucking loud noise on your end. Hopefully that's not the case. As far
No
as
way. I'm
with
the only.
this with oh good, okay. All right. With this album, I wanted to touch on Mouthful of Precious Stones. Honestly, one of my favorite riffs. I could say all time, even saying maybe a top 5, top 10 of any heavy band ever. That initial first riff that comes in heavier than hell. I've always like that's been my go-to song, like probably my favorite song of all time from the band. What can you tell us about that track?
That was a track that that's all Mike. I mean, he even wrote, I'd say, probably half the lyrics, and when he demoed it, I think he had patterns with those lyrics all set. So and we have a demo of him singing a bunch of that stuff, and he and Guy kind of worked on the idea of somebody being so disgusted with humanity and other humans, and it came about. It was funny because the whole idea of the record, the idea of teeth, come up so many times throughout the record. I'm not saying that the record's not about teeth, but bad hygiene. I mean, the title of the song is basically about bad hygiene, and so someone's paranoid about other people's hygiene, and yeah, I agree. I mean, again, Mike is just a crushing riff maker, and it's fun to watch him work. I mean, he's a lunatic, and it's also fun to watch him just create these incredible riffs. I mean, when he writes a song, I think he really has an idea of what exactly he wants it to be, and that was start to finish him.
Oh, okay, okay. Did the album title come from the lyrics in this song, or did the lyrics in the song kind of mold, from the album title that was already kind of in works? Do you remember it all?
The record title came from, we were playing a show in Maine, and I think with Overcast, and we were outside the club, and I was talking out loud about a show, probably on Discovery Channel, just like on the last record, and I was talking about how they make sweatshirt zippers, and one of the things they said was the zippers get fed through, or the teeth get fed through the machine. And I said, that's such a cool saying. And then I think Guy kind of mixed it up a little bit and said we should call the record Fed Through the Teeth Machine. And then that's, whenever I write, I tried to have visual aids around me. And my wife was going through dental hygiene school at the time. So any riff I wrote on that record, I was looking through her book at these horrible teeth.
Oh
And again,
man.
I don't think the theme of the record has anything really to do with teeth. It just pops up. But that's how my approach to writing was to look at horrible teeth. And and then I think she might even be credited. She might get credited on the record because she was brushing her teeth one night with an electric toothbrush, and I recorded her. And I think she might be credited for playing a teeth machine on the record. I added it in with some violin part that intros into one of the songs. So yeah, there's teeth all over that record.
What the hell's a teeth machine?
The teeth machine is what they put sweatshirt zippers through to make them connect.
Okay, I got you. I don't know. For some reason, my brain was going towards like
On the
something
record?
making molds of teeth or some shit like that.
No, I see what you're saying. No, the teeth machine that she plays was just the electric toothbrush.
Oh man, yeah, you got to make sure that's in tune. You can't have that out of tune on an album. You'll throw everything off.
Oh no, we spent a while setting that up. Yeah, that was. It had to be an 8440 perfectly.
Love it. All right, what was the highlight song of that album for you?
Teeth Machine. I love. Now I'm trying to think of the actual title of it. This is terrible. We Sleepless Nights at the Compound. That's what it's called.
Ah.
Sorry, yes, that one. That kind of came when Guy bought this house in New Hampshire, and he turned his back on Massachusetts. I want everyone to know that. So he lives in New Hampshire, but he bought a house that was attached to an old ceramics factory, and we would always call it Guy's Compound. We'd call it the Compound because we all thought he was doing weird stuff up there, being a weirdo. And so the song is kind of about a weirdo who owns a compound. So I think the working title is like Guy's Compound or something. But but yeah, that one's good just because the last line in that is pretty haunting, and yeah, I like that one. That was a good song.
Nice. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
Next up, I wanted to still there.
Still there to this day, man.
Nice. All right, I wanted to touch on something more recently as far as Umbra Vitae, and kind of hearing as far as Jake, reaching out to you as well as Mike, and kind of developing this, and what were some of the early things that you remember, as far as either writing or hearing, how the band was going to turn out?
Well, it's funny because Mike, Sean, and Jake are all in a band called Wear Your Wounds, and it's incredible. You should check it out. It's a real departure from anything those guys have done. And so they were going to play a festival in Europe, and Mike got his other band, Stomach Earth, on, and I played bass for that live. And so I was over with them playing this festival, and they were talking about, because they would always warm up with death metal songs and stuff at Wear Your Wounds practice, and they were talking about making a death metal band. And then we get home, and it kind of comes to fruition. And so Mike calls me up and he goes, "Hey, do you want to do that death metal project? Jake was going to play bass, and now he just wants to sing." And I said, "Oh, definitely." And I remember halfway through the recording, I looked at Mike and I said, "Hey, man, this is turning out great. Thank you so much for asking me." And he goes, "Oh, I didn't ask you. Jake asked me to reach out to you." Like, "Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks for the word." And I think honestly, it was when they decided. I think it was when we were over there. Jake probably decided that he didn't want to play bass, and I was the closest guy that played bass in the room. So I think it was one of those things of like, well, just have him do it. So and that project is really fun because we do a lot of stuff where we each put riffs into a Google Drive. And there's nothing more exciting to me than waking up and having a possibility of a Sean Martin riff that no one's ever heard in a Google Drive that you can just open up. And it's awesome.
Sick.
It's like, can you imagine? Those riffs are so hard that he writes. They're incredible. So.
It's funny, with mentioning Wear Your Wounds, there was a time, and this is just being completely honest, I couldn't bear myself to like the band because I was like, all of these guys that are in this band, and this isn't just fucking grueling, heavy shit, I can't like it. I can't listen to it. It almost broke my heart, really, is what it was. It wasn't that I didn't like it, but I'm like, oh, this is just so unfortunate. And then the news coming with that, it's like, okay, I can bear off and I can enjoy this, and I do, and it's a great couple of albums that they have too. Their stuff is so sick, but I needed to hear something heavy out of that outfit. And thank God it came.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it is funny that, and again, I'm the same way. I have so many projects, and not all of them are heavy. So I get that wanting to, or being pulled to express yourself in another direction. But I will return on that is that when you come back from that, you want to produce something that is just horrific. And so maybe that's what they were thinking. But yeah, I want to say maybe Return to Zero was an early riff on that. That one was really fun too because the drummer who was initially gonna do it, we set studio time. He's like, I can't make it, and so I remember Mike and I were like, we know the guy for the job, and it's Chan. So we called Chan up, and he's like, of course I can do it. And so that's what we thought. And so he came out, And the funny thing about that is it's, what, 3/5 of Umbra Vitae, but 3/4 of the Red Chord. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
3/5 of Where You Wound. The problem is everyone's in too many bands. I can't keep it straight.
Yeah, it's all and we'll kind of dig into that too with this next section here with the sexless marriage. But yeah, that is that is funny. I mean, as far as some of the different things, but yeah, I think it's nice too, especially in musicianship and especially in music. When you have that kind of bond and that relationship, being able to not have to go in and overly explain something and having somebody being like, "Nah, man, you don't have to. Yeah, I know what you're trying to do. Just let me work with it a couple of minutes. Nothing better."
No, it's incredible. I mean, Mike and I have been working we have to be in at least 7 bands that are doing stuff, and then about 20 bands that we just make up and write songs and are idiots. And so it's really nice working with him because not that I know exactly what he's going to do, but I understand his style. And same with he and I, we're almost at this point on the same page with a lot of stuff. So and it's just fun. It's just fun to be able to write music with your friend. It's good.
I love that. What equipment did you use in the studio as far as for recording with the album there, Shadow of Life?
What we did was so Kurt Ballou did the record, and much to his chagrin, we did I think guitars and bass at Mike's house, vocals and drums with Kurt at God City, and I think I think he likes it when bands are all together in there playing. But we had Sean for like 2 days, so we had to get him in there and do the drum tracks, and then Mike and I recorded at his place, and I did just a direct tone, and then this is embarrassing, but Kurt reamped it, and I don't know what he used, but it sounds great. But I used my BB Rich bass. So
okay.
that's
Nice. Okay. Did you have any pedals or anything like that, or was that pretty much just a direct in type situation?
I think that was just a direct in. I should reach out to him and see what he probably used an Ampeg 810. I'm not sure what head he used, but I don't think there are pedals involved. But it is gross. It's a gross tone. I love it.
Yeah, so sick. Yeah, I love that. Now, and so we were kind of touching on here for a second as far as kind of intermingling members and different things. I wanted to dig into Sexless Marriage. So this is a project that you had just dropped. It was a few months ago, right? The album just came out.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago that we released it.
What what were the first?
Yeah, this is a project that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I think we're on a tiny delay, but I kind of like that.
Yeah, a little bit. If I have to go back and edit it, it'll look great, I swear. Or maybe there'll just be music playing and we'll be staring at each other. Who knows?
Well, it already looks great because you're involved. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. I'm blushing. All right, Sexless Marriage. So we
Yeah, speaking of you looking great, is it always sunny inside your house?
This is honestly, it's an overhead light. That's it. No sunlight down here.
Just kidding.
But as far as my glasses, the overhead light, it does a little too much. I have to keep the glasses on. It helps me concentrate.
Well, dude, again, you look great. So yeah, Sexy Mare came about when I've really always wanted to do a band that is just a hardcore punk band. You call it what it is, just fun, fast songs, and I wanted to do it with friends. And in my mind, I wanted to set it up so it was people, that I've worked with before, people that I knew toured before, and that just really wanted to play music. And I just wanted it to be a fun project. That was it. That's all I was thinking. And if a show came of it, that would be great. It was more just to hang out with people. And it all kind of, I always had that idea of wanting to do it. And I had people in my mind for the band. I never really had a singer. I was like, I could do it, but I'm not good. And so a guy from Austin, Texas, who used to live here, he lived down there for maybe 12 years. I could be lying. It could be like 20. I don't know. He flew back and started working where I work, and we started talking. And he was in a band called The Roller and Weak Flesh from Austin. Great bands. He and I traded albums, and I remember hearing The Roller going, "Oh, dude, this guy is awesome. His voice is awesome, and he's a sweetheart." And one night at a party, I was talking to his wife about, being away from music is not easy, as we know from the last year and a half. So imagine moving to a new city, leaving your bands behind, and I'm sure he was just itching to get at it. So her and I were talking, and she was saying, "Yeah, you guys should do something. He misses it." And then that's when I thought, well, he should sing for this thing. And funny, I always wanted Chris Johnson. He's my cousin. We've been, obviously known each other very long, and I've wanted to be in a band with him for a while. So I was like, "Hey, do you want to play guitar on this?" He's a bass player, so he's just like, "Yeah, but I'm a bass player." I was like, "Don't worry, we can get a bass player." And then on the way to Umbra Vitae record, I showed a couple demos, phone demos to Mike and Sean. Sean was like, "This is cool," and Mike said, "Oh, this is rad." And I said, "Well, do you want to play bass on it?" Mike's like, "Yeah." I mean, usually when Mike and I are in a band, the conversation goes, "Do you want to do whatever?" And the other person says, "Yeah, why not?" So it all kind of came together, came together like that. And we wrote and I'm in two other bands with the drummer, Beth. We were in a band called Warren and Labor Hex together. So, and he's an incredible drummer. So we kind of showed up. I think Labor Hex practice got canceled. So I showed up with these Sexless Marriage songs, and it kind of took 2 practices with just he and I, and maybe 1 practice with Mike Morowitz. So, and in the studio, Gunface had never heard the songs before, so we taught him the bass lines in the studio, and we just did it in 1 day.
Damn, the whole album?
Yeah, well, it is, in our defense, it's 11 minutes long. And the most fun thing about that experience is that Johnson, so Chris Johnson is like this all the time. He's just easygoing, chill, nothing bothers him. So it's kind of fun to like tweak him a little bit. And that recording was us being ourselves, him trying to wrangle us all, trying to get us ready to play, get the songs done. And then I was like, "Oh, also a bunch of our friends are coming to do gang vocals." And he's just like, "Are you kidding me?" But he got it all together, and thanks to him, we finished the record.
I love that. And speaking of the gang vocals there, Nameless Wave being one of my favorite tracks, Force Fed being one of my tracks. What can you tell us about those tracks, and how did it come involved as far as having, Candace and Guy pulling all these, really cool cats together? How did that come about? What was the conversation there?
The conversation there was basically I always loved when Red Chord had guest vocals. I love when any band does it. And I knew I wanted Mike on a track, so he was going to be at the studio anyways. And then I just reached out to Guy and I said, "Hey, we're doing this thing. Why don't you come down and sing? It'll be fun." Because, it's basically you singing on, I want it to sound like between you and Mike, it'll sound kind of fun. And Candace, I've known her for a very long time. Walls and Red Chord toured probably 2 years straight. We became friends. She moved to Boston and now literally lives a minute and a half down the street. And oddly enough, we hang out a couple times a week. I think she's still here. She's in my house right now. So it was just easy for me to say, "Do you want to be on this track?" And she was like, "Hell yeah." So she showed up and kind of rounded it out.
Sure. Yeah. Nothing to it. Just, hey, do you want to do it? Why not? And there we are.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a piece of cake. I mean, they all showed up at the same time, and Chris Johnson, it was great.
you had to you know, scratch half of, you know, whatever track that you're in the middle of. And can you just pull up the last song, because we have the guest vocals now? We have to do this, you know.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that other one in a minute. Pulling his fucking hair out, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, the talent is here. So can we pause this and get the
Yeah.
talent in?
There it is. I love that.
And
All right, tell us. Go ahead.
talent. Hell yeah. And the other song was I think, you know, I had these three riffs, and then I don't know if it was me or somebody else said, why don't we make it like a palindrome? And so the song goes, and then halfway through it turns back around, and it's the exact same number. Forward is back. Just dumb stuff like
weird.
that. The record is just filled with fun, dumb stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you know, why not? It's yeah, force fed. I mean, definitely, that's a really sick, you know, track. And like when it kind of gets in, I don't know if you would say it's a versy part, but you know, he's doing on the ride, and you know, the drum part with that. That's really what drew me in, because I'm like, man, that's really fucking kind of weird. I had to go back and, you know, kind of listen to it a couple of times, so it kind of threw me, you know. And a lot of times drumming, you know, I mean, playing drums, that's kind of a centered draw, you know, and so those are the things I'm listening to. But that track in particular, I'm like, ooh, this is fucking nasty. I dig that.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. That one.
Yeah, so sick. With the cover art, I wanted to touch on, you know, as far as, first of all, I mean, being, you know, really striking, just a cool image, you know, the look. But I wanted to ask if there was anything, you know, as far as a reference to the Suck It sign, the Degeneration X, the sign there that the male character is doing. Is there anything in correlation here? Is there you know, is there a conspiracy theory?
That's funny. There isn't. That's really funny though. No, it's based on, and I forget now the area of the world, but it's based on where I think it's once a year people dig up their loved ones and present them on display and dress them up and everything. So that is a picture or an idea based on that. And the reference photo, I believe the gentleman's hands were just like that. And but yeah, we could start that rumor. That's fun.
I mean, I feel like a giant piece of shit now that I've said what I've said, and you told me what it actually is from. So maybe I'll just edit that out.
No, not at all. No.
It's a nice dear story of a loving couple, and I just bring up some dumbass shit from 1990s wrestling. Oh, dear God. What equipment did you have?
I think
what equipment did you have as far as with the recording process, as far as, because you play guitar in this and writing riffs and different things, you know, what are kind of your go-to guitars for you know, writing and recording on this album?
So I own there's this company called Michael Kelly that I love. Just feel good. See, I don't really care about what something, you know, the name of the brand. To me, it's as long as it sounds good and it feels good with how I play. And Michael Kelly is a company that has always delivered stuff that's great. But so I use that to pretty much write everything. But on the recording, I think I used this 79 SG that I recently bought from Johnny Faye, ex Red Chord. And it says DSG on it, which is great. And it's all walnut. I use that through the tone really comes from this Nerd Knuckler effect pedal. And I was lucky enough, I wish I had it here, I could show you it at the practice space, but Brad, who runs that pedal company, made me a Sexless Marriage pedal that
Damn.
now I use for every live show and every recording for the band. But we just ran it through a JCM 800, and it sounds great. I basically went in and I said, I want to sound, I want my guitar to sound like a septic pipe burst. And we're like, okay, let's try some stuff then.
Oh, God.
I think we
so did you? Yeah. Was it something that was kind of was it a long process as far as kind of going back and forth with different sounds and did you have something that maybe, didn't end up what you wanted and you went back and kind of messed with it a little bit more to achieve just that?
Yeah, I brought a couple pedals to see if they would work, but it wasn't until Johnson was like, "Oh, I have this pedal that our buddy Brad did, and it might just do the trick." And he plugged it in, and that's when I was just like, "This is the one. This is the pedal." And I think he even borrowed it from him for a while until he was like, "Can you give that back?" And then I reached out to Brad and I said, "Hey, can you make me one?" And he
Nice. Nice. That rules. I mean, yeah. I mean, and that kind of makes it a special moment too, as far as doing different things and having something actually made for, specifically like this band. I mean, that makes it a little bit easier to be in, scratching your head and like, boy, what tone did I have for this damn thing? It's like, I'll just grab my pedal. It rocks.
Yeah, the pedal actually.
Uh-oh. I didn't lose you, did I?
I hope not. I do have 10% battery life left, but that's okay.
Oh, well, look, we're actually we're on the home stretch here. Well, it's up to you. I have this one last question in this finale, and this has been more than the hour that I've even asked you. So I thank you.
Dude,
I'll
stay all day. I'll stay all day. I'll plug in. I'll just stare at each other for a second. Ready?
This is it. This
close.
is it. It's perfect. Here we are. Nice.
Nice. I loved it.
All right. What was your highlight track for this album?
Oh, this one?
Yep.
Oh man, they were all just kind of fun. Again, because there's no pressure on it at all. I think Nameless Wave was one of the Mike Morowitz did all the lyrics, and then I think the day of recording he called me up and said, "Hey man, I don't think I have lyrics for 2 songs," and so I wrote them while he was driving from his house to my house, and then I finished them up from my house to the studio, and I think Nameless Wave was one of them. But that one's a lot of fun just because of everybody.
Nice. I love that. All right. This is wrapping up. I do have, like I say, one finale question here. I cut you off. You were in the middle of saying something. Unfortunately, I apologize. What was it? What did I cut you off from?
I was going to say,
you mentioned before we go
that prison suicide is great.
Thanks. Shit. I appreciate that. Yeah, we just came out with a 7-inch and a couple of new songs, and we got a show tomorrow night. Damn, thank you, man. That means a lot. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was listening to it, and I was thinking, Sexless Marriage and you guys, we should play together. I feel like those 2 bands would fit really well together.
We'll be in contact. That would be so sick. That'd be awesome, man.
Let's do it.
Do you guys?
We'll play.
Do you guys have
tomorrow.
anything lined up? Well, there we go. If we have one in Grand Rapids, Michigan. If you make the trek, I have a couple of rooms that you guys can stay in and everything. There you go. Might have some bologna sandwiches. You never know. If you're vegan, maybe not much, but no, that sounds awesome. I appreciate bologna. The kind words, man. That means a lot.
We actually have 3 shows in November with Edict, the band Edict, which are incredible. I wrote them down because I don't know what my own name is half the time, just in case this came up. November 5th, we're playing in Providence. 6th in Brooklyn, New York. May have heard of it. And 7 in Wallingford, Connecticut. So come on out.
Dang. That's, it's not too far. And actually, we have something we haven't even mentioned, but there's a few days in November. I think like the 2nd or 3rd weekend there, right around there. So we're going to be doing a little out of state here and maybe be able to figure something out. That'd be sick. Be so sick. Jesus. Oh boy. All right. Let's wrap this up with a little bit of fun here. And let me ask you, as far as, sometimes in interviews, people mention Umbra Vitae as a super group. And I wanted to ask you if you could create an unsupergroup, a band with members full of people that are just criminally overlooked. Who would make up this project? Who would make up this band?
Oh man, incredible!
Before the phone dies.
Well, I think that band kind of already exists in Ed Gein.
Oh my God!
I know
I
they've
fucking
renamed
forgot
themselves
about
now,
that
but
band.
to me, there was no one heavier or more brutal than Ed Gein. They were one of the bands that I hated going on afterwards. So to me, I think that supergroup already exists. Go look them up. Ed Gein.
What are they called now?
I wish I knew, because then I could tell you.
Damn. Holy moly. Dude, I
That's
used
not
to
the
love that
band.
band. Holy shit.
I just don't remember what they were called.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to have to look
they're
into that.
Incredible. They're so good. So Chris, yeah, they're
All right.
awesome.
I'm gonna go online and I'm gonna look up I Wish I Knew. And if it doesn't pull up Ed Gein's new band with their new a band name, then I'm gonna be pissed.
I know.
God damn it, Greg.
I wish I knew so I could tell you. That would be so funny. I wish I knew.
That would be. Yeah, I love that. Look, man, this has been absolutely amazing. Before the phone dies, thank you so much for the time and for the kind words too. I appreciate it and been a fan of you and your bands for a long time, man. So thank you very much for the time today.
Yeah, we should play together, man. We should play together.
Hell yeah.
So thanks for having me.
Yep.
This was a ton of fun.
Absolutely. All right, you take care. Stay safe, man. Stay healthy.
All right, we'll do. You the same.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.